moment to breathe, grab a beverage or two. We got professional guests with lots of stories for you. So take a seat right here and join us on Careers Over Beers.
Welcome to Careers Over Beers podcast. My name is Jesse Krause, the host, and today I have the pleasure of having one of my old teachers on, Mr. Smarsh. I even wore the gear for you today.
Oh,
look at that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Repping Andale Indians here, where I graduated.
Absolutely.
So you've been a high school teacher for how many years now?
So, actually, the first 2 years I taught were middle school in Wichita, in the inner city.
Really?
Yeah. So I taught at Truesdale Middle School, 7th grade, geography and world history. And I've got some interesting stories from there.
Is that right?
Yeah. We might get into here today, but
Hell yeah.
And so, yeah, that was in 1993. So I've been a teacher for 30 years.
Before me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've taught driver's ed since 97. And I've coached for 25 years and then retired from coaching. So, yeah.
A lot of years, a lot of students.
A lot of students, probably about 3,000 now.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your beer choice is Miller Lite.
Got some Miller Lite. Tastes great, less filling.
And it's a fine Pilsner.
That's right.
Right? This is the first light beer, I think, wasn't it?
I think so.
That's what my dad told me, anyways.
I think you're right.
Miller Lite. And at the time, they were like, what the hell is that? Light, you know?
Yeah.
You had Budweiser, you had Coors OG.
Uh-huh.
And I got the Pounders because little birdie told me that that's what you like.
Oh, I like the Pounders.
It's better bang for your buck.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Get more beer for less. So cheers, sir.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And for some reason, when I drink these, they never go warm on me like some people say.
No?
I don't know.
Well, you're good at drinking them then.
That's right.
You're a polished beer drinker at that
That's
point.
right. Had a few.
You don't even need a koozie.
That's right.
If it gets warm on you, you're drinking too slow.
That's right.
That's how we do it in Andale.
That's right. Yeah.
So, 3 decades now.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it went by fast. Of course, you know, I was having kids right and left too, and coaching. You know, when I was coaching, I was up there 70 hours a week, and it just, you know, it just flew by.
Yeah.
Probably not for Janelle, my wife, but it flew by for me. Anyway.
Yeah. So. And you enjoyed it, obviously.
I did.
You've been doing it for so long.
I mean, if somebody asked me the other day, would you choose teaching again? I said, yeah, I think I would.
Really?
It doesn't pay worth a crap, but it definitely is rewarding in a lot of other ways.
For sure.
And I've enjoyed it. Those first 2 years at Truesdale, maybe not quite so much.
Did it almost scare you away?
I started questioning my career choice. I really did. But there were a lot of good kids there too.
Yeah.
It was just the 5 per class that.
They weren't all bad.
That's right. The 5 per class that made my life a
living hell.
A living hell. There were a lot of days at Truesdale where I would, you know, after the last bell, I would just put my head down on my desk and I would think, the heck am I doing?
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was that bad. Like, holy shit.
Just a few kids, though. I mean, like I said, a lot of kids I really enjoyed, and a lot of times there that I really enjoyed.
I hope I never made you put your head on your desk.
No, not at all. There is a good story I got to share about you, though.
We'll go. Oh, God, okay. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
So you were already questioning it. What made you even start teaching in the first place?
Well, I wanted to coach.
You wanted to coach.
Sports were, you know, big in my life. I was a college athlete, and I wanted to coach. And I remember my sister saying, "Gosh, if you want to do something like that, you should just go into teaching.
Yeah,
and you can coach and do that." So I did, and like I said, it's been good to me. It really has. I wish I'd have brought the rings.
I know. You have a bunch of state championship rings, right?
Yeah,
from track and football?
Track, football. I've actually, I should have 12 of them.
No shit.
Yeah. So I had them in a little display case. I was going to bring them, but it's 12 championships I was a part of. 8 as a head coach and 4 as an assistant. So
cheers to that, man.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a feat that most people don't ever have.
Yeah, it was a good run there. A lot of good athletes, a lot of good kids. I was fortunate, very fortunate to be where I was at and to be part of a winning legacy like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
people always ask me, what are they putting in the water out there in Andale? Your athletes are insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's I always tell people it's 3 things. It's good kids that don't mind working hard. That's the first thing you got to have. And then a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because there were some years in track where we had 130 kids out in a 4A school that, had 450 kids in it. So when you can take, at the end, when you can take 40 kids to the state track meet, shoot, you got
That's
a big advantage there. I always told the kids, I said, it's not so much the first placers, we're going to 3rd, 4th, and 5th them to death.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do a lot. So.
Yeah, and that's how you win too, right? Not just by having one star, not one Usain Bolt on your team.
Exactly. Yeah, we had our share of state champions, but like I said, it wasn't all the champions that won got the points for us. So
what do you think makes a team that good? Honestly, is it just raw talent, or are there a lot of factors that go into that?
Well, first of all, I had a lot of kids that maybe weren't the most talented, but like I said, it's kids that want to work hard and
they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, and if you want excellence, you got to demand it.
Yeah,
and these kids never back down from a workout, and football and track. I coached freshman girls basketball also when I first started at Andale, so I had a little bit of.
Covered it all.
Yeah. When I had my second kid, Janelle said, you got to give something up. So she didn't want to be home all the time by herself.
Right.
So, it's good kids that want to work hard. It's lots of them. And then good coaches. I know when I quit coaching track, I had the best track staff in the state. In fact, a lot of colleges probably didn't have that good a coaching staff. 5 of our coaches were college athletes, and
wow.
And they just wanted to be part of a program that
was
worked
be
hard.
Success,
and, somebody told me one time, they said, if you're gonna have assistants that are better at their craft than you are. So
I love it. It's kind of like the old saying of don't be the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
Surround yourself with successful people, and you're going to end up just as successful.
Sure.
But, it's probably common also for other schools and places in the country where it's never there. You never have a team that's fully there, that connects, that has hard workers on both sides, coach and athlete.
Right.
So you're also fortunate to be at a place like that too.
Exactly. We're in a unique place here. And a lot of the, it's kind of funny when I first became the head coach at Andale, 3 of my assistants were coaches of me when I was in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they then worked for me, which was a little bit weird at first, but they're great people, and they didn't want to do the head coaching stuff. So yeah.
I love that, though, that dynamic that you have, because I had the same thing when I was going through school in a similar way, where I would have a teacher like Mr. Smith or some other guys from Andale that were teachers for my dad.
Right.
And
yeah.
They're like, I know your history. You can't pull that shit on me,
Yeah, and that's another thing we're fortunate at Andale, that we have the longevity that we do, and people don't want to leave. So it's kind of funny. When I got the job at Andale, it was just because one of my old teachers had died.
Really?
It's otherwise it would have been years before I started at Andale. Probably they just.
So were you waiting for that job? Was your ultimate goal to end up back at Andale?
I would have loved it. I didn't think it was going to happen, though. I really didn't, because, like I said, people just don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
He had a heart attack at 42. And Charlie Snell, God rest his soul, he was one of my mentors. He was one of my biggest fans. He's one of the reasons I got into teaching. And it was him that died. And I'd already been coaching there for 2 years. I was teaching at Truesdale, coaching at Andale, freshman girls basketball and track.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for 2 years while I was teaching at Truesdale. And so I had an in, obviously, and they made me interview. It was a formality. Mm-hmm. Red Spexarth was the principal. It was already a done deal.
It was one of those things where it's like, there's no pre-selection here, but
no. So, and Fred, great guy, one of my favorite people ever. Great principal, great mentor. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, hell, that's awesome that worked out that way. Even though it was unfortunate that your old teacher passed away, but
yeah.
How much longer could you have made it at Truesdale?
Well, I would have probably looked for the suburbs before too long.
Yeah,
just because I knew that things were better out there. And like I said, Truesdale was not all bad. Mm-hmm. 1,100 kids in the.
It's just way different
in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade there, and they had a lot of diversity that I probably wasn't used to coming from Andale.
Yeah.
So
you can picture what an Andale kid looks like in your head right now.
Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed the teaching part and reaching kids there. I didn't enjoy the discipline that I had to do. I had to be mean.
Yeah.
And you know how my teaching style.
You're not like that. That's not you at all.
Was I ever mean a day?
No.
That you were
not
ever?
Once.
Yeah. So I had to be mean. In fact, one of the teachers there that had been there a long time when I first started, she said, "Don't let them see you smile for the first 2 weeks."
Sounds like boot camp in the military.
I tell you what, that's
don't you dare crack a smile.
That's what it felt like. Yeah. So anyway, it was weird.
That's a weird thing. That's
coming
a weird
from
thing.
Andale, America, to have to do stuff like that. So
yeah, it just doesn't feel natural when you know that I shouldn't be smiling right now. That's kind of a weird thing.
And I didn't listen to her, which was probably a mistake because she'd been there for years.
She's like, I know these kids. Don't you dare smile. Would it have been different, you think, if you were coaching there too? Or since it was just teaching?
Probably not, just because there were so many kids there. Mm-hmm. And I broke up so many fights, it seemed like. I didn't like that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever maybe even seen 2 fights at Andale in the years I went to school there and the years that I've taught there.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it's just very rare. So, and, we had to go through the metal detectors every so often that were random.
And that was back then.
And they made the teachers go through them, too, because they didn't want us packing.
So this is like 93, 94?
Right.
So it's before school shootings are popular.
But we found a loaded .38 in the showers there.
Did you?
That a kid had brought because he was afraid. Gangs. There were gang influence in there. 7th grade.
Yeah.
I had a girl in one of my classes that was running an extortion ring in my classroom.
No shit.
She was a gang member, and the kids were afraid of her, so she would, tell some of the timid kids, "You got to bring me $1 every day, or I'm going to have my homies hurt you." And all I needed was those kids to tell me that she was telling them this, because I knew it was happening. But they needed to tell me this, and we could have got her out of there. But they were scared.
Really?
They would say, "Oh, I owed her some money for a pencil," or something like that.
Yeah.
And these were 7th graders.
They'd cover for
and
her.
I hated that. I hated it. Because we couldn't get rid of her unless, the kids ratted her out.
And they weren't willing to. They were just terrified.
No.
That's so crazy how that's already working itself out like that at that young of an age. Because that's how mob and cartel shit runs,
Yeah. It's exactly right.
You don't sell somebody out.
And that's the first experience I ever had with gangs as well. Because, obviously, Andale.
Yeah.
So... And that just made me sad. I lose sleep over it at night. And, I saw one kid, I'm not going to mention names, but he was a kid that had roots from Colwich that was there. And I saw him go in there to Truesdale because he came from a broken family. Mother was divorced, moved into Wichita. And he got in there and got into some bad influences, and I saw him go downhill before my eyes, and I couldn't do a thing about it. So, yeah, that was the stuff that weighed heavy on me.
Yeah, that's upsetting to see for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when there's not a whole lot you can really do,
Right.
I had my uncle on here who's a vocal music teacher, and he taught at West High for a little while, and he talked about the same thing, how, you can offer them certain things, but at the end of the day, there's not a ton you can do when somebody's in that situation and they're self-destructive on top of it, you know.
Right.
That's kind of an intense situation to throw somebody in for their first year of teaching.
Yeah, it really was. But I had subbed for a year, I think actually 2 years, and I couldn't find a job. There was just a social studies glut, and I was subbing, so I wasn't going to turn a job down.
Yeah.
That was offered to me, so I definitely took that as soon as it was offered. So,
what were the requirements to become a teacher?
So, you had to go through the teaching program. I went to Wichita State, and it was a 4-year degree. So you have to pass the National Teachers Exam, which is not a big deal. So we did that and do your student teaching for a semester. And then you're in. You're qualified. You get your license, and you're ready to roll. And
you wanted to be a coach first, so this came kind of second to that. But did you have an idea already what subject you wanted to teach in?
Yeah, I mean, I'd enjoyed like I said, the teacher that I replaced was a big influence in my life, and he was a social studies teacher, and I enjoyed the subject. And, I had eventually wanted to teach government like he did, so now I'm doing that. And
oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job at it, too. You taught me.
Appreciate it.
I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's important, too, for kids to know what's going on in the world around them.
Yeah. Yeah, like we're talking about this Putin thing right now.
Yeah.
It's, the kids, aren't losing any sleep over it, but it could get bad.
It's history, that's for sure.
For sure.
It's something we haven't really seen in a long, long time.
I mean, I told them today, I said, I don't want to scare you, but this is as close as we've been to nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962.
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes into one of those NATO countries, Biden has already said, we're going to step in.
It's going to pop off.
We're going to step in.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it'll come to that. I think he'll do cyber warfare before that happens. But
yep, let's hope not.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different world now.
It is.
With everybody involved in social media, and it's not like people were tweeting pictures of each other back in 1945.
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah, it's like I said, I get into that stuff. I get to school at 6 a.m. every day.
Yeah, you're an early bird.
Which probably people are wondering why. I just don't sleep in. And I get there and I get the news on, and I get on the news sites, and, I definitely bore them to death for at least the first 10 minutes of class with all that stuff.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, some kids get into it. Some kids, they could care less about that stuff. Like my youngest 2 daughters, they didn't really give a shit.
They don't care about any of that.
He liked it, but
well, Jared does.
Yeah. So, but
well, it's important. People always say all the time, like, why are we getting into this? Why are we talking about that? But politics and government, it does affect your everyday life at the end of the day. So it's nice to be a little bit well-rounded, even if you don't enjoy listening to it, just knowing at least what's going on.
Well, yeah. And I talked to them about voting and show them how to get registered. And like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but like I had my daughter Abby call me the other day, how do I register to vote? I said, you really didn't pay attention that day in class, did you?
Well, I hope I wasn't too big of an asshole in high school, but I didn't pay attention to eat much either. You know?
No. In fact, the story I have about you is, I think one of the first few days of government class, you came up to me and you said, Smarsh, I'm probably not going to do any of this work, but I'm going to ace every test. Are you okay with that? And I said, yeah. And you did. You aced every test, but I don't think you handed a dang thing in, which is fine. So,
I had a, looking back, I'm like, man,
but you knew about
what an idiot.
You knew about stuff.
I had this vendetta, and I had this idea in my head. I don't want to do homework. I'm in school for 8 hours a day, and they're not going to make me work on school when I'm out of school. I already don't want to be there. And, to make me go. So I was like, I'm not doing any of that shit,
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass, which I barely did.
Now, you had a solid C, I think.
Had a solid C. That's all I need.
That's
C's
right.
get degrees.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I apologize for any headaches I gave you on that.
Not at all. Not at all.
In
fact, I think back about that, and I just smile because you're the only person that ever told me that they weren't going to do anything. and I knew you were going to follow through with that because I knew you were smart and you would ace the test and everything was good.
Well, if you can pass a test, then you don't need to do the homework.
That's
in my
exactly. That other stuff.
And I don't want to be a dick about it. You're just there doing your job too. So I'm going to let you know up front.
Yeah, you were honest with me. I appreciated that. So.
Yeah. So, mic's off. I got no mic. Okay. Good? So, back in 93 is when you started, right? Almost 30 years now. I want to know what your biggest change between students has been since you've been teaching that you've seen.
Well, to be honest, probably and somebody just asked me this at the beginning of this school year. I think it was one of the administrators because they knew I'd been there a while. And they were younger than me. So they said, what has been the biggest change? And I said, well, probably the parents, honestly. I mean, back when I first started teaching and when I was going to school in the late 80s, if you got in trouble at school, you're going to get twice as bad at home when you got there.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had a lot of support from the parents back then. And probably nowadays, if a kid gets in trouble at school, a lot of times you'll see the parents up there, and they will be questioning, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
There was no question.
Trying to defend their kids.
There was no question.
Their kid does no wrong.
Right.
But back in the old days, it's like, you got in trouble at school, you're getting your ass beat.
Yeah. Yeah. And back when I was in high school, and this was in the late 80s, teachers still use the paddle.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would, you'd lose your job so fast now.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah. It was kind of a rite of passage to get the paddle.
If you had a paddle in your office and you hit a kid today,
yeah,
it'd be game over.
Oh
yeah.
It? Yeah. You'd be brought up on charges.
You'd probably be in the national news.
You'd be in national news. You'd be in jail. So. Anyway,
that's a big change, for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Smith took us to the dark room a lot.
Oh, man. My dad told me about that. My dad told me about that. Yeah. He also told me about Mr. Pitts. Did you ever have him?
I never had him, but I've heard that he would lift you off the ground.
He'd lift you off the ground. Mm-hmm. And he had a crucifix in his office where he'd write your name, and my dad said I was crucified in his class. He'd say, I'm going to crucify you if you got in trouble, and he'd write your name on that cross, and he'd lift you off the ground with that paddle.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to mess around in his class again.
Yeah, I mean, if it was worth 10 minutes of ass burning, then you're not
going to do it.
That's right. So anyway,
there's something there, there's something there, but that'll never come back in our lifetime.
No, it will not. So.
As far as the kids, though, are they any more like disrespectful or mean or nicer? Or
I don't see it at Andale. But I've been blessed with teaching only seniors the last 10 years, so they do grow up.
They kind of have their shit together by that age.
Yeah, the first 20 years of my career, I taught freshmen and sophomores, and they're still a little squirrely.
Yeah.
So.
So even that's a lot different.
And the hormones and all that.
Yeah, and the hormones.
That kicks in too. But
I remember that.
Yeah. But the seniors, they're more adult-like. You can definitely tell. And I don't see any difference between kids today than
that are that age.
Than when I was that age.
It's crazy how much of a difference there is, though, from 14 to 18.
It is. It is.
And then you look back and, everybody always talks about their high school years like it's this big period of their life, Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, that was 4 years. And it seemed like forever back then. But then 30 years go by like you, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
There were like 8 high schools right there in the past 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But it's just, your brain's developing and
sure. It's definitely I enjoy it because I really enjoyed my high school years, and I just enjoy the age group.
Yeah.
And kids that think you can't hear them and what they talk about. And it just
What are some of the funnier things you've heard?
Oh, they'll talk about the weekend and who did what, and
you're like,
you're
doing that already?
Well, I'll be acting like I'm not paying attention or I can't hear.
Can you believe Jared got hammered and jumped on that table?
So
that never happened.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it never happened.
No, we waited till 21 to drink, so I'm sure you never heard anything out of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes you got to see a kid though, because I remember when I was a senior too, seeing freshmen come in, and they look like they're 10 years old, and then they're talking about getting hammered or something. You're like, you're doing that? What?
And we still have kids that look like that. They are really immature kids, and some are late bloomers.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing that's weird when you get out of high school, is that when you start going back to high school things like football games and stuff, you see these kids, you're like, no way we look that young.
Yeah.
These look like babies.
Yeah.
But when you're there, I remember being a freshman and looking at seniors and being like, holy shit, that's a grown man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a kid in class right now. He's 6'6" and 325 pounds, and I'm thinking, this guy's probably the biggest kid I've ever taught.
Besides BJ Finney.
BJ wasn't even that big in high school. He was 260.
Really? He looked like a giant to me.
Yeah, he's 309. He just retired from NFL.
Did he really?
So, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he's had some back issues and things like that. So,
hell, congrats to BJ Finney, man.
Yeah, he had a good run. So
he looked. I remember seeing him in school because we were in school at the same time, and he looked like a giant to me.
Yeah, he was definitely a big kid for high school.
Yeah. And then he went to K-State and gained all that weight, and then gained even more weight for the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever been physically threatened by anybody at school?
Well, strange you should say that. At Truesdale, 7th grade, when we were walking back from lunch one day, I had a kid throw a stick, and it missed my head by about 6 inches.
Really?
Yeah.
A big stick?
It was big.
It would have hurt.
It would have hurt. It'll left a mark.
So he was doing that intentionally because he didn't like you?
Well, I don't know if I'd got on him before lunch or something like that he didn't like, and I had my back turned to him. So he chucked a stick, and like I said, I just saw it whiz past me. Yeah. And I don't know, one of the other kids gave him up, so I kind of got in his face, and anyway, that's all. So
you didn't give him the paddle.
No paddles at that time. But another interesting story: there was an old teacher at Truesdale that still had a paddle hanging up in his classroom that they used to use, and it had Don Johnson's signature on it, the movie star.
Really?
Yeah, Dakota Johnson's father. If you don't remember him from the movies, he was a big movie star.
So he hung it up there because he had
Miami
it on there?
Vice.
Yeah,
he was in Miami Vice and that. So yeah, that was kind of his claim to fame, is that he paddled Don Johnson. That's here in Wichita.
Hey, cool enough, right?
Yeah.
Anymore, it's probably cool if you paddled anybody in the teaching world.
Yeah, if you're old enough to still remember the paddle and had the opportunity to use it against somebody, that's big stuff.
Yeah. For sure. So, driver's ed.
Driver's ed.
Let's talk about that.
1997, I got certified to teach driver's ed, and I've been teaching it ever since. So 14-year-olds behind the wheel.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. I've had worse jobs. I mean, shoot, you grow up on a farm, you're bucking bales in the summer, and you're in a 130-degree shed stacking bales.
That's a hard job.
Much rather teach driver's ed with air conditioning than that. So.
Yep.
So yeah, the thing that I think I excel at is I don't get too excited. You know?
Yeah.
Because if
you don't lose control, you're not like, holy shit.
If you get tense and start yelling when a kid's behind the wheel, it just goes worse.
Oh yeah,
it goes way south then. So I just try to keep calm. There's been a lot of times where I've had to use the brake or grab the wheel with my hand. Mm-hmm. Everybody always asks me, have you had any wrecks? And I said no. Of course, then you knock on wood, because if you do it something long enough, everything happens.
For sure. So it's riskier the more you do it with these kids.
So
right?
yeah. And I guess I've had so many close calls that I just hope that it just keeps being close.
Has it? Well, I have a story too, but I want to ask this first. Has it ever legitimately been like so close that you're freaking out, or you think it's going to happen?
Well, it's been asshole puckering numerous times, and I think I broke a toe stomping on the brake so hard.
Oh
one
my
time.
God!
So yeah, it's been close.
And you still stay the laid back Mr. Smarsh that we know when this is going on?
I did.
Your toe's broken and you're like,
yeah.
You guys want a drink at the gas station?
We're going to go to QT now. And I think that's what the kids appreciate, is that we always do stop somewhere and they can get, their drink and their snack and
I remember that
kind of thing. So.
And it makes it so much better because the kid's not stressed at all. When they know that you're laid back like that and you're going to stop and get some drinks, a quick trip here and there, it doesn't freak them out. If you have some dude in there that's like a drill instructor, and he's like, you better not spill my coffee on the dashboard,
right?
Then that's.
I've even had kids tell me that I'm really going to miss this. They had fun, and I don't know how, because it's got to be stressful for them.
Well, it was such a good time. Don't you remember how fun it was to drive for the first time?
Oh, sure. And they'll tell me stuff like, I'd much rather drive with you than my parents. And I said, well, I got a break here too. So
that's true.
So I understand, because I taught my 5 kids how to drive, and Janelle would never get behind the wheel with them. But
I remember driving with you. I went to your driver's ed course.
Yeah, I think I did all your siblings too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what's funny, I remember one particular day when there was a kid, I'm not going to name, that was driving with me, and we pulled onto the road, and it was a 2-lane road, just a country road. You go this way, you go that way.
Right.
Pulls into the closest lane, so we're coming into oncoming traffic now.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, holy shit. And then you were just like, well, maybe we should get over here.
Yeah.
And in the back, we're like, we're going in oncoming traffic, and here's Mr. Smarsh going, I think you should get over real quick. Get over there.
Yeah, I mean, oh, shoot. I had a fellow teacher of mine following me one day just out of the blue, and we took the corner at Colwich Road and 21st, we took that rather fast.
Yeah.
And he texted me immediately. He said, dude, you were up on 2 wheels, I think. How can you do this? And I said, oh, we were fine.
I got a lot of experience.
Yeah. We've had much closer calls. So
I know exactly the angle the vehicle has to get before it's going to tip fully.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you think it has made you a better driver doing all the driver's eds?
Well, not according to my wife, because she criticizes my driving all the time. So
that's why you need one of those brakes in your car. Then you can criticize her when she's driving.
Yeah,
Stomp on that brake.
Yeah, and I've actually stomped the hell out of her purse before, which was down where my brake usually
on accident
is when she's been driving. And it's just a reflex.
Yeah, just reflex.
And I'm constantly checking blind spots. I always tell people when I ride shotgun, I said, hey, don't be offended. I'm going to be checking your blind spot. and checking the rear view mirrors and things like that. It's just habit.
I tell you what, I still to this day, and I credit you every time I do this, I parallel park sometimes downtown when I have people in my car, and I shout out Greg Smarsh every single time because that is the foolproof.
It is. Foolproof method.
Yes.
For sure.
It literally is. I remember when you first taught us that, and you told me exactly how to do it. You pull up to the driver's seat, crank the wheel straight, crank the wheel back, and it works every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's not a big deal if you just do those steps.
You just do those steps, and it's literally going to work out.
It's going to work.
And I blow people's minds with that. They're like, "No way, you're going to park in here."
Well, anymore, you just push a button and the car does it for you.
True.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not that bougie yet.
Yeah.
I will be one day.
Yeah. Exactly.
You don't need to parallel park in Andale, that's for sure.
No. That's for sure.
Just pull up in the grass.
Yeah, and when we had our Suburban, I would freak Janelle out because I'd say, I can get in there. And she never.
I can squeeze that one.
Yeah, I can squeeze right in there with this Suburban.
So did the driver's ed thing just come secondary? It just kind of fell in your lap from teaching?
Was, for the longest time, I was mowing ditches for the county in the summer. And I did that all through college, and it put me through college. In fact, I paid for all of my college by working for the county in the summer mowing ditches. And I continued to do it after I started teaching just because, I didn't have anything else to do and, had to have a little
extra
job.
cash.
Yeah, I had all kinds of kids on the way. And it so happened that Fred Spexar said, hey, we could really use a driver's ed teacher out here because all the old ones, Max Castleman, those guys were hanging it up. Mm-hmm. So I drove to Emporia every day in the summer to get certified to teach driver's ed one summer.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it was every day, an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. And I had to come back because I had a bunch of little kids at home. So and now they can do it online, of course. So I put, 10,000 miles on my pickup that summer, just driving up to Emporia every day.
What does it take to become a driver's ed?
So it takes 9 hours.
9 hours?
And I could get it done in the summer, and that's the only time they offered it back then. So I took 9 hours and got the certification, and then Fred Spexar threw the driver's ed at me. He said, hey, this program's yours. I didn't have any inclination on what to do.
Really?
And he said, and by the way, you got 110 kids showing up on Monday morning.
Woo!
And this was in the old high school yet, in the lunchroom. So by myself, I got 110 kids at all these tables in the lunchroom. In the lunchroom. And I had some guys lined up that I'd gone to Emporia with to help me drive. But I taught all the classroom. And, once we were done with the classroom, then those guys helped me drive. But, it was a little intimidating at first because, number one, most teachers in their career never have to have a class with 110 kids in it.
No, not usually.
But I told them the first day, I said, hey, I've got your money already, and if I have to expel you, your parents are not going to be happy that they just spent $200 for you to take this course, and you're not going to get to drive. So I said, you got to be good.
You got to be good.
Got to be good.
And lucky for you, especially in like a farming community like Andale is, kids have been driving since they were like 10.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely have an advantage out here. Oh, I've had some green ones. I really have. Oh, yeah. Kids they've never been behind the wheel.
It might be getting worse. That might be one thing that's getting worse.
It probably is. Parents are scared to drive with their kids.
Yeah.
Because, for one, they don't have a brake like I do. And for two, they don't want them to drive that early. They're scared that their kids are going to get hurt, whatever. So,
I also know, like, my brother's still in high school, and I know of several cases where kids just flat out don't care about driving anymore.
Yeah,
they don't have a desire to.
I had an 18-year-old this last summer that she had no inclination to drive before that, and her parents didn't make her.
Yeah.
So
that's
Yeah.
a culture change for sure, because I
That's
remember
for
being
sure.
14 and just
heck
like,
yeah.
I can't wait till I can drive.
Chomping at the bit.
Yeah. In fact, this is probably not a good thing, but I actually drove to driver's ed class in the summertime.
I would rather have students like that than than the ones that have never been even behind the wheel of a go-kart or a lawnmower or anything. Yeah.
There's a lot of kids in Andale that are driving a wheat truck at 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big vehicle.
And you have to when you grow up on a farm.
Yeah.
I think I started driving when I was a 5th grader.
Yep.
So,
and that's an old clanky big ass wheat truck. You know? Once you get into a Honda
stick
Civic,
shift,
it feels like nothing.
I learned on a stick shift.
Yep.
And that's kind of foreign to people
That's
anymore,
a dying
too.
breed for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything in driver's ed that even mentions stick shifts or driving a stick shift?
In the classroom part, they go over it.
They still go over it?
Yeah.
It's not taught, though?
No.
You can't learn to drive a stick?
I mean, if you're going to learn to drive a stick, it's got to be a family member. None of the vehicles we use are even close to that. So,
Need a beer?
yeah, thank you. Although we do drive Suburbans, which are big, so I always tell the kids, if you can parallel park a Suburban,
You can parallel park anything.
Parallel park most anything. So, and I like Suburbans just because they're comfortable. You sit up higher in them. I drove a Lubers used to give us cars, so I had a Mustang one time.
Are you serious?
They let me use, and I hated that because it was so low, and you didn't have back doors, so you had to put the seat up every time
Somebody came in and out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wish I had a Mustang in driver's ed.
It was a cool little car. I will say that.
So, like, with coaching and driver's ed and teaching, you're hitting and you're working with kids that are in a really, really, I don't want to say vulnerable, but they're in a point in their life where you can mold them very easily.
Sure.
What would you say the biggest impact on kids is if you're dealing with them at that age? Is it through sports or is it through the books?
Well, honestly, I think the sports thing is a bigger impact where you can reach kids, and a lot of teachers would probably disagree with me that aren't coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the things that kids learn in sports and having success at sports definitely play more into their later life and their success later in life than actually the classroom stuff, because if you're going to be a truck driver, you're probably not too worried about the Fifth Amendment or something like that,
unless you're doing some shady shit,
or or if you're I don't know if I've used a whole lot of math in my lifetime being a social studies teacher. I've got my calculator on my phone. That's good enough.
That's one of the funniest things, man, is that I heard my whole life, and I was a dirtbag. Don't forget. They told me my whole life growing up in school, you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket when you're older to do these problems for you, these long division problems.
Exactly.
Well, Mrs. Got one right here with me all the time.
Yeah, so
no, I'm just playing.
And I think a lot of teachers don't realize that either, is that you're overestimating your impact on a kid as far as this subject in a lot of ways, because you take every subject because you don't know what you're going to do. You got to be well-rounded, and that's great, but sports are a different thing. Sports, you learn how to work with other people as a team member.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to serve you well for the rest of your life.
100%.
Yeah, you learn that you got to follow the rules.
Yep.
Or else you're going to get penalized.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be on time. You got to.
There's a lot of things there that are wonderful lessons to learn. Even losing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a huge lesson.
You're going to lose all your life. You're going to you're going to get defeated, and how you handle that is a big indicator of your future success.
Yep.
So
it is pretty amazing how the team thing really plays into everything too, that I've noticed, because I wasn't even a big sports guy or anything, but being in the corporate world and just working with other people, you realize there's a huge advantage to being a team player.
Sure.
I mean, if people can trust you, if you can work well with them, rather than being the guy that's at work and doesn't talk to anybody, there's a huge advantage to being the guy that is talking to everybody and is a team player.
Yeah.
And you understand your role in that team,
Yeah. And you know how you handle people that aren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times those are the people that aren't very successful in their endeavors just because of the way they act around other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think it's something you can teach if they don't know how to act like that? Like if there's somebody that's just doesn't get along with anybody, doesn't fit in at all on a sports team, can you teach that?
I think
or are they doomed?
No, I think you definitely can teach that. I think if you can show them even a little bit of success, they can hang their hat on that.
Yeah.
Like in track, for instance, you may not. I've had people come out. They said, "I don't really know what to do. I don't really know where I need to be." But if you can say, "Hey," and I've had this happen numerous times. I said, "Hey, I know you probably don't like this, but I need an 800 runner. I need somebody to run 2 laps around this track, and you can score points and help the team." And they may not ever be able to make it to state in the 800, but if they get a 5th or 6th place and can help with the team, and we have success that way, hey, you're in.
You were a part of this success.
We got 1st place tonight.
Yeah.
And you scored points. You helped us.
Yep.
So
that's important for people to know that,
Yeah.
And it's probably also important for a coach like you to instill that on your athletes and not just somebody that's looking for the best runner ever.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I've had, like I said, I've had that happen many times. And if you can convince them, or, I've also said, hey, this person wants to be a hurdler, but, I've had to straight out tell them, hey, I don't need you as a hurdler. I need you as this.
Yeah.
And this is where you can help the team. And, if I can convince them of that, they're going to have more success. They're going to have a better outlook. They're going to have a good, positive experience.
Yep.
So
sometimes you don't know what you need for yourself,
exactly.
Especially at that age.
Exactly.
Which, that's another crazy thing is that being 18, and I've talked about this before, being 18 and having to choose what you're going to do the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Do you guys think about that as teachers?
Oh, sure.
What's your best advice for kids that are just clueless on what to do?
Okay, this is what I tell them. I say, hey, you're going to be out in the real world now. It's not going to be all, rosy like Andale, America.
Yeah, definitely not.
And the best advice I give them is said, hey, I don't make a lot of money, but I love coming here every day. I get here 2 hours before I have to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you find something you love, you never have to work a day in your life.
You're damn right.
Yeah. So that's what I tell them.
So you think it's important for people to follow their passions and
I think so.
Something that they're suited for?
Absolutely. You see people all the time that just absolutely hate their job, complain nonstop about their job.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for them. I really do. And I've never been anybody that's worried about, money a lot.
Yeah.
My wife will be the first to tell you that.
But see, that's what's wonderful. That's why your story is so important, is because you couldn't probably pay you enough to leave what you do. You've hit the lottery, even though you're not making $300,000 as a tech person in LA. You've hit the lottery. I mean, you're in a spot that is gold.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm going to retire soon, and I'm going to continue to sub and just be involved a little bit. But it's definitely been a great career for me.
Yeah.
And even though my wife wouldn't let any of my kids become teachers because of the pay, there's some. It's been a wonderful life.
Well, don't you think
it that way?
Don't you think teachers should be paid more for what they do?
Well, I do, but
you guys are
everybody.
literally
in every profession thinks they should be paid more, I think.
That's true, but the difference is you're literally shaping the future generation, right?
Yeah. I mean,
think about you said earlier that it was over 3,000 or 4,000 kids.
3,000 kids I probably taught
Yeah.
in my 30 years so far.
And just think about that. That's 3,000 adults that are out there in the workplace right now that are either good or bad people because of somebody that was in their life. You know, we all think back to those teachers.
Sure.
And if you have a good one, that plays a huge role in your life. You're a better person because of that.
Well, I hope I have.
100%
So,
you have. You have for me, that's for sure.
I mean, I always give a survey at the end of every class just to see. And I think, you know, whatever you do, you should try to be better at it every time. So if I can give a survey and these kids, it's anonymous. They don't put their names on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, be absolutely honest with me. You know, what was good, what was bad, let me know. So
What'd they say? Give us smoke breaks?
you know, back in the 70s, Andale High School had a smoking room.
I know, man.
For the
Let's
kids.
bring it back. I want paddles and cigarettes.
So nowadays, the non-traditional classrooms are what they're saying. What could be better in here? You need more comfortable seating, like couches and recliner. There are a lot of classrooms at Andale High School that are just couches and recliners.
What?
Yes, it's crazy.
And they're just getting it.
And
Get rid of this desk. This thing is uncomfortable.
I'm still desks in straight rows, uncomfortable, hard as shit.
Don't cave. Don't cave. Don't cave to them.
So, yeah. But if that's their biggest gripe, I'm good. I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
it really is. It's probably their biggest gripe.
Well, one thing that I've noticed going back to schools now for events and stuff is that the amount that you guys are locked down. You know, I'm not that old. I didn't graduate that long ago, but the school has changed drastically in terms of leaving and coming back and locking all the doors, you know?
Yeah.
That's a sad world, kind of. That makes me sad that
Yeah.
our world has gone that direction.
And, you know, it's the mass shootings that have dictated that, obviously. And,
I mean, you probably remember when you were in school, kids probably had guns in their trucks.
oh, I'm not going to name names again, but one of my friends threw up a can in the parking lot and shot it with his shotgun.
At the school.
At the school.
Yeah.
And
Don't try that nowadays.
We had our guns in the back window.
In the back window of the trucks.
Yeah, the gun racks in the back window. We had those. We went dove hunting after football practice, and you know, it was just it was different.
That's a huge change.
A huge change, yeah.
You know, that's a culture change for sure.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, it's just
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the differences for sure. I can't even get to the school without flashing my ID.
it's all badge access. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
and even when you come into the school, you have to come through the office now,
Right.
which is like a buzz-in, like a prison almost.
Uh-huh.
I would have lost my mind because we
Yeah.
used to go out to our cars or trucks all,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So yeah, it's different.
But it's necessary, I guess, because you
It
never
is.
know.
It is. You got to have those safety precautions in place just in case.
Do you guys do like shooter drills now? Active shooter drills and stuff?
Yeah, we actually do. We
Jeez.
have the crisis prevention plan.
Yeah. See, that
So-
that wasn't even a thing when I was in school.
Sure.
And that was less than 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's different for sure.
I wonder, do you think the kids are fearful at all of that happening? Is that something they think about all the time? Is that I could possibly get shot up in school?
I don't think so, because at that age you think you're invincible.
True.
I remember the feeling myself. You know, I don't know how many times I had that 72 Ford Galaxy up to 120 miles an hour on a road.
Without power steering, probably.
No, it had power steering.
Did it?
Yeah, but it also had a big engine.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't realize, you know, back then I didn't even think about a tire blowing, and
No.
I would never stop rolling.
We'll be fine.
At that point. No seatbelts back then.
There wasn't a thing.
No.
We'll
So
be fine.
Kids are invincible. They still think that. They still believe that. So I don't think they give. You
I
know,
don't give a crap about some
they don't give a
loser
hoot,
coming
of a school shooter or of a nuclear attack or anything like that. So
Let's hope they're right.
I hope they're right too.
I wish I was like that still.
Yeah.
Maybe in the United
Well, I
States
always
of
tell
Smarsh,
them,
he could be.
I could be. Could be.
That's right. That's right.
Do you have any advice that you would give to people that want to go the teaching route or the coaching route?
Well, yeah, I think definitely the advice I'd give them is you're not going to be paid well. The benefits are not that good. The things you're going to reap are intangible.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the kid that you light a fire under.
Yep.
And the fact that most teachers get their summers off. They don't have to teach driver's ed.
Hey, that's a big one, right?
And honestly, you get a month off during the school year because you got 2 weeks for Christmas, you got week for Thanksgiving, week for spring break.
Hell yeah. Some of the federal holidays.
Sure, the holidays. So you do, you got to weigh the good with the bad on that kind of thing. My wife gets pissed at me all the time, all the times I have off, and honestly,
she's just jealous. That's the thing.
I've got, after 30 years, I've got 100 days built up of leave.
Oh wow!
So
yeah,
if I see a nice day,
you're not stressed at all about taking that off.
It doesn't bother me a bit anymore. Michelle Shackelford, I hope you're not listening.
I hope you are listening, Mrs. Shack. You're another big teacher in my life.
There's that Fifth Amendment you're talking about.
Mrs. Shack, get on my podcast. She probably has some bad stories about me too. So.
Oh, she's awesome.
She is. Well, thanks for everything you do, Mr. Smarsh. You've made a huge impact on a lot of students' lives. Keep being the laid-back Smarsh. That's an important thing, too, for people not to feel stressed.
Yeah, I think most people enjoy coming to my class, which is good. Like I said, I'm not mean. I think people feel comfortable in my room when they come there, and I hope they continue to.
I think that's awesome. That's the best way to run things. I would be the same way, I would hope, if I was a teacher, just because you gain trust when kids are comfortable in your class.
Sure.
You're not going to treat them like shit. You're not going to be an asshole about stuff.
And they're going to be more receptive to what's happening too.
Yeah, and they're more willing to do things for you if you need them to. If you want a little bit more work from them or a little bit more participation.
Or if they want to just do the test,
or if they want to be like me, just some loser that wants to test, yeah. All right. Well, do you have any last words or anything that you want to say?
No, I appreciate you having me.
I think
this podcast is awesome. I've been listening. So.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Mr. Smarsh. Cheers, sir.
Cheers to you. Appreciate it.